All right, well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us this fine and lovely evening for our curriculum committee meetings. We will start off, of course, with public comment. According to Policy 903, public comment on matters of concern, official actions, or deliberations is limited to 3 minutes and should be directed to the entire school board following the announcement of your name and municipality. Under this policy, the presiding officer has the authority to warn or stop a public commenter when violation of this policy occurs. But opening comments. All right, so we have Lee Rush, who desires to speak this evening.
I have some information in now, so you have it.
Excellent.
Okay, good evening, Lee Rush from Percy. Good evening, Lee Rush from Percy Borough. A few hours ago, I just read that the federal government has come out and recommended 6 fewer vaccines for children in America. Yeah, I guess what I thought about that is regardless of what the government says, I think most parents are going to trust their pediatricians. I think they'll go and hopefully they have one that they've known for a while and trust and say, you know, what do you think, doc? What do you think I should give my kid? If I had all the power in the world, I'd probably try to help create a vaccine to prevent addiction to cell phones. I discover by doing a little of my own research, by looking on my screen time, and embarrassingly, when I looked tonight, I spent 3 hours and 20 minutes average on this phone last week. I don't have an excuse like I was on vacation, because now that I'm retired, I'm on vacation every day. So I have a lot of time, but that's a fair amount of time for me to be looking at a flat screen, wondering if I'm any better off for it. Probably not. What I wanted to do tonight in my time, is there a timer that I can track how much time I have left? Oh, that's your, okay.
1:38.
All right, so I was interested to know about this book. When I first read it about 1.5 years ago, I probably got it out the first week it came out. The Next Generation has now sold almost 2 million copies throughout the world. That's a rather remarkable run in a book that has somewhat of a, not a narrow focus, but you know, if you have children or nieces or nephews, grandchildren, teachers have obviously read that. I know there's at least 4 people, maybe 5 in this room that have read the book, thank you, whether it's online or hard copy. I bought a bunch of copies. If you want to borrow one of mine or have it, I can let you have that. I really wanted to share the exciting news that this book came out a few days ago for children, age 9 to 12. People who wrote The Anxious Generation, Jonathan Haidt, basically know that, you know, people are going to buy this for their kids. It's for 9 to 12-year-old children, middle schoolers especially, elementary. And what you have in front of you is a packet of information. I'll communicate more in writing as we go forward. But the Senate in Pennsylvania, many of you know, has passed the bill out of their Education Committee, of which Senator Coleman sits on, to recommend, well, at least they're going to have a discussion. Whether or not they approve it or whether or not the House creates their own bill, whether or not Shapiro signs it is up for grabs. But I just wanted to come tonight. I'll be visiting often about this issue. I feel strongly about it. I'm hoping that here in Penn Ridge we can get an initiative called Wait Until 8th. Wait Until 8th is a group of parents. I want to focus in the community to help parents who are considering the idea of buying their kids a phone, waiting until 8th grade. Thank you for your time, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. All right, that brings us to our first item tonight, the Curriculum Committee meeting. We have a presentation from our Curriculum Department.
All right, good evening, everyone. First of all, Happy New Year to our board. Welcome to our new board members. It's wonderful to have you here and to have you continuing to serve this wonderful district that I have a privilege to be a part of. Happy New Year to those who are sitting here this evening, and to those of you watching at home, Happy New Year as well. We're here tonight just for a brief presentation. I just wanted to go over a few things that we'll cover. First, I wanted to provide you with an update from my office on some of our long-term and short-term goals for instruction, specifically around reading and language arts, or RELA as we call it, for our new board members. Education is a bit of alphabet soup, so we do our best to make sure that we explain to you all the letters that we put in front of you. So RELA, if you see it, is reading and language arts, and math. I know there has been some coverage of reading and math scores in and around our community. There's been some inquiries about reading and math scores. So I just wanted to be able to provide you with an update as to what our goals are in these two areas. We are also going to have an update from Ms. Vitale, who is our K-12 social studies curriculum supervisor. Back in November, the former curriculum committee and then the former board had approved moving forward with a new course in our program of studies, AP Comparative Government. So tonight we're bringing in front of you a textbook proposal for you to take a peek at, and that once you have that information, we'll then bring that to the board meeting later on this month. And then finally, Ms. Burke, our K-12 RELA supervisor, is just going to give you a very brief update on our obsolete book process. So that's what it's going to look like this evening. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is this idea of understanding complex change. So since I have been a member of the Penridge School District, our superintendent, Dr. Barrios, has made it extremely clear to us as district leaders, our building leaders, our stakeholders in general, that he believes in this district. He believes in the fantastic teachers that we have, the students in front of those teachers each day, the leadership of the board, the community that supports everyone. And because of that, he knows, and he has made it clear to us, that we can do better when it comes to our state testing scores, that our scores can be higher, that our ranks can be higher. And that's not because, and please know I don't want to put any words in Dr. Barrios's mouth. This is coming from me, Dr. Bloom, for those of you at home. But I want to make sure that you know that's not because he thinks that that one test matters over anything else. It's simply because we know we have the bandwidth to be able to prove exactly how well regarded Penridge should be. So to that end, I am an agent of Dr. Barrios, being a district administrator, and my team here, we are working to put his vision of how we can continue to make these growth happen into place. And that's really where my office comes in. And I wanted to talk to both our former curriculum committee meeting members and our new ones to have an understanding as to what we're doing in these areas. So I really see my job as managing and leading complex change over a large system. And I like this visual a lot. It's the reason I put it into this slide, so that you can understand what it is that we work with each day to actually reach the success of complex change. Because when you're looking to change something that's perhaps been in place for a while, or perhaps you've gotten used to, if you don't hit each of these modules in a complex change model, you often end up with either confusion if there's not a vision overall, anxiety if everyone's not on the same page, resistance if there's not those incentives to know what it is we need to do next. So my job is really to, as I said, put into actionable steps how to bring Dr. Barrios's vision for the Penridge School District to life, which is by having vision, consensus, skills, incentives, resources, and ultimately an action plan to bring us to our next steps. So this really resulted in two different prongs for what you're going to see out of the Office in Teaching and Learning for the rest of this year, for next year as we continue to work to bring these test scores up. The first is our long-term goal, and I've gone over this before. I won't click on this link this evening, but it is here for your review, and that is our curriculum review cycle. As I've mentioned previously, between the years of 2026 and 2032, all of our curricular areas in each subject area will be intentionally vetted, looked through, reviewed, and made sure that we are up to date with standards, best practices, common assessments, and alignment to eligible content. That is our goal, that is our pledge, that is our promise to the Penridge community, that is what we will go through with our curriculum review cycle over the next 6 years. Any curricular changes we look to make, any adjustments, any new courses will always be brought here first for you, and then ultimately will be taken to the board for a vote on how to move forward. With that being said, we recognize that we can't wait 6 years to touch and intentionally move instruction forward with the students sitting in front of us right now. So we needed to build off of the vision of what are we going to do to be able to move the needle in reading and language arts and math as we wait to hit all of these curricular areas in that cycle review. And coming together with my team from our supervisors, with the building principals, with the district administration, we really landed on 3 core short-term goals that we are going to use as our signposts to make sure that we are continuing to move forward in reading and language arts and math so our students are prepared and are able to be well-versed in those state assessments. And that focuses in on standards-aligned instruction, consistent use of academic language, and intentional instructional routines or strategies that will support the mastery of eligible content. And I just want to put out there that eligible content is a little bit different than our standards in Pennsylvania. Eligible content is what is ultimately assessed on those PSSA or Keystone assessments. So those are the 3 sign points we wanted to be able to look toward. This evening, I have Ms. Meg Burke, our K-12 RELA supervisor, and Mr. Mike Gurish, our K-12 math curriculum supervisor, to come up to be able to explain to you a little bit about what we're doing right now to move the needle in those 2 subject areas so we can ultimately fulfill the vision that Dr. Barrios has set for the district. I want you as a board to be able to see and point to the strategies that we're using so you know what's intentionally happening with the Penridge students that are in our care at this community. So I'll invite them up, and I'll turn it over to them. You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Mike and I are going to present to you some of the ways that we're strengthening literacy and math instruction strategically in grades K-2. So in RELA right now, we are utilizing weekly grade level and data meetings, and we're dedicating scheduled time for our K-2 teachers to meet together as a team to strengthen their explicit instruction and application of the students' skills in reading. And this includes going deeper with instruction and not wider, and really targeting and focusing foundations, which is the phonics instruction, Hagerty in our K-1 classrooms with phonemic awareness instruction, and the use of decodable text for students to apply those skills in authentic reading situations. Our reading specialists are essential to this work. They've completed 16 classroom-based coaching cycles just between October and November. They provide daily small support instruction for students, and they have ongoing collaboration with teachers to ensure consistent implementation across all 7 elementary schools. K-2 is the place where our students begin to become readers before they enter 3rd grade and they start reading to learn.
So historically, as curriculum supervisors, we meet with our high school teachers as subjects, departments, and our middle school as well. And we've always then had our grade level meetings where we meet with our K through 5 teachers. When we realized that there is a difference there in the elementary school, even with our 3 to 5 are our tested subjects PSSAs, and K2, we really need to start laying down some foundation. So this year, even though it's a couple more meetings for us, we broke up our grade level meetings and are meeting with K2 separately and 3-5 in separate meetings because we think that we have different goals in mind there. So we've met with our K2 teachers specifically to try to lay some of the foundations, the groundwork, and develop some frameworks. Ms. Burke is going to talk about Say Mean Matter as one that's being used in our RELA classes. Ms. Tamburino, who our science supervisor, uses claim evidence reasoning, so we provide a framework for that. Ms. Vitale, and with visual literacy skills in social studies. And in math, Dana Pivnichny, one of our instructional coaches, has spent time going into the classes working on something called using your vowels and getting students to be able to write and be able to answer some of the open-ended questions with their providing their answers, evidence, ideas, organized, and making sure their responses are understandable. So these are some skills that we're working on to kind of lay the groundwork for when they get to those tested subjects, so everybody is speaking a common language about what we're trying to accomplish. The other thing that we're really focused on in the elementary, especially in K2, as part of our Everyday Math series, is a virtual learning community. Within that, there's a lot of professional development, but there's a heavy emphasis on vocabulary. So that's something that aligns definitely with our goals. So we're working on making the word banks and making sure students know what vocabulary they're using on PSSAs and the tested subjects versus what they're seeing in their curriculum as well.
Another exciting opportunity that we have happening outside the walls of our classroom is our partnering with the Farm Bureau to organize Agriculture Literacy Week during the week of March 16th. And the Farm and Bureau members will visit all 7 elementary schools to read aloud with kindergarten and first grade students using the book that I brought with me, Cows Can Moo, Can You, all about farms. And this initiative strengthens the connection between literacy, community, and agriculture, continuing building those early literacy skills for our students, both inside and outside the walls of the classroom. So we're really excited about this opportunity, and a special thank you to Dr. Barrios for organizing this and the Farm Bureau meeting that we attended back on December 17th. Continuing with our strengthening of literacy and math instructions in grades 3 to 8, I want to give you an overview of what's happening currently in our classrooms in grades 3 to 8 with our instructional focus. The very first instructional focus is really identifying priority standards as part of our short-term goals, really making those eligible content standards a priority, and the explicit academic used in our classrooms to align to that eligible content. So what we started to do with teachers in grades 3 to 8 is prioritize some standards that teachers started to realize they were not teaching currently within their instruction. We started to look at areas within our RELA timeline where these missing standards could fit. On top of that, we developed supplemental units to address these using a strategy you may have heard called Say, Mean, Matter, which is an explicit instructional research-based model. Other than that, we also started to develop supplemental activities and common classroom-based assessments in Linkit in grades 6 to 8 aligned to these standards. We created activities directly pulled from PSA samplers to match eligible content standards in reading and language arts units. And we aligned all of these activities and assessments with unit standards and classroom-based assessments to strengthen student mastery in real time while it was happening in the classrooms. We then pulled what was happening in classrooms and we met with teachers in grade level teams 3 to 5 and 6 to 8. And we compared these assessments to help us develop a framework and curriculum that has been prioritized in the curriculum renewal cycle that Dr. Bloom had mentioned. Before I move on to math, I'd like to show you a video that's going to show you what's happening in classrooms right now with Say, Mean, Matter. Making student thinking visible. Why does Say, Mean, Matter work? Because students are learning how to think with text, not just reading. Say, Mean, Matter provides a shared research-based approach that strengthens reading comprehension, writing, and reasoning from elementary through middle school. What does it do? It asks students to cite what the text says explicitly, evidence, what the evidence means, inference, and why it matters, analysis. What does it look like in our classrooms? Classrooms are active, engaging spaces where students annotate, discuss, and write using common routines. Our dedicated teachers use explicit instruction, shared text, and common routines to guide students from reading to analysis to evidence-based writing. Say, Mean, Matter makes thinking visible through the use of common graphic organizers, common academic language, and common writing routines. From elementary classrooms to middle school analysis, students experience a coherent progression of skills. Through collaborative planning, professional learning, and classroom implementation, Say, Mean, Matter reflects a shared district commitment to strong literacy instruction and student success. Say Mean Matter empowers all students to read closely, think deeply, and write with purpose, preparing them for future academic success and lifelong learning. Now, let's hear from some of our students and teachers from Grass Elementary School.
Say Mean Matter helps me be a better, stronger reader and writer. Say Mean Matter helps me be a
How has Say Mean Matter helped you?
it helps me cite evidence, and I like it a lot because it helps me stay organized and doing paragraphs with it.
Why should teachers and students use Say Mean Matter?
They should use it because it helps you score higher and stuff. Like in mine, I got a 4 and stuff, and it's just good because it makes you think more about the text and why you're using that text evidence and stuff.
How has Say Mean Matter helped your students?
We've been incorporating Say Mean Matter since the beginning of the school year, and I've definitely seen a difference in them as readers. They read more thoughtfully, they think about the text more deeply, and they apply that through their writing and discussions in class.
How has Say Mean Matter helped you and your students?
Say Mean Matter has helped me and my students because using this strategy helps students cite evidence in their text-dependent responses. It also helps them make inferences about the author's intended message and just allows them to craft a written response to text in a more organized way instead of having them ramble on.
Ramble.
I have one question for you. Okay, go back. Oh,
Okay, I'm just going to get her back to this part.
yeah, that's fine. So basically, a lot of that strategy is we weren't necessarily teaching everything that was on the test or didn't cover it, and you're fixing or matching it up, and then testing for it through linkage tests to make sure that they're prepared better.
Kind of, yes. You said it really well. So basically what the teachers were doing is they were looking at the current text they're teaching and the questions they're asking and the rigor of those questions and the writing commands. And we'd compare them to what students were asked to do on the state test during teacher meetings. And they would realize, wait a minute, we're not teaching it. We're not using that language, the language that it's used there. How can we integrate it into our instruction, into what we're teaching? Okay. And that's what we did. And Say Mean Matter does that. It's what the text says, means, and why it matters, and that builds analysis.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank Ms. Burke for putting that together, because I think it puts a little bit of a face on what I was talking about a slide ago about the different things we're doing with our K-2 teachers and providing frameworks like this, just so everyone is on the same page across the district. Everybody knows about claim evidence reasoning, about visual literacy. So it really helps them as they get into those subjects where now they're actually having to be ready for that test to be able to fall back on that. So we've done a lot of work there, and Say Mean Matter has done a lot of good in the elementary school, and we're building off that in all the other subjects. I just want to talk a little bit. I'm going to echo a lot about what, similar to Ms. Burke was talking about. And I want to acknowledge some of the work of our coaches. Dana Pivnichny works in our elementary schools in math, and Anita Whalen will be speaking to in a little bit at the secondary level. Just like in RELA, we're also identifying our priority standards, looking at all of our data, and then trying to align that with our timeline and our everyday math sequence to make sure that we're hitting all of the content, the eligible content, in a timely fashion. We're looking to see if we're missing any of those standards or if we're missing eligible content, and then we're developing the units to fill those in. A lot of what we're finding is not necessarily we're missing eligible content in our curriculum. In fact, maybe one of the things we're finding is in our everyday math, there's things that aren't eligible content, and that's going to help us reorganize things a little bit. The other thing that we are doing in the elementary school is what we found is the eligible content is in the curriculum, and the students are seeing that eligible content, but where the disconnect happens is when they're being assessed, are they being assessed the same way on the PSSA as they are in the everyday math program? And the everyday math program does it a certain way because it spirals back. You might do measuring to an inch in this unit, and then later on you're measuring to a half inch. So we don't want to, we can't throw out those assessments because it's all part of the program. But we need to make sure that our students are being assessed in a way that is going to be similar to what they'll see on the PSSAs. So we've done a lot of work with matching up our curriculum and the units to the PSSA samplers and things like that. So what we've done is we've built, and you were talking about Link It. So what we've done is we found all of, let's say for Unit 4, all of the questions from PSSAs that are aligned to that content, putting them together into a Link It activity. So now as our teachers finish Unit 4 of their everyday math, they'll take that assessment and then a separate activity, not a test that gets scored or graded, but they'll take an assessment that's aligned to how they would see those questions on Link It. So we're trying to bridge that gap between the everyday math and the PSSA. Another thing that we've done, and I'll give Ms. Whalen a lot of credit for in the middle school, is we took our assessments that we give in our middle school, math 6th, 7th, and 8th, and she put together some of the PSSA samplers and all of the questions that align to the same eligible content. We met with our teachers and they looked at that, and there was a little bit of panic in the room when they really saw about what they were, how they were assessing and what that same eligible content looked like on a PSSA kind of format. So we've worked really hard on that. It scared some people as we're trying to move forward, but in a very good way. All right. All right, am I introduce?
One of Dr. Bloom's goal was really to start to align our instructional coaching team with the strategic short-term goals of the district. And two of our coaches, Dana Lupinacci, who's not here, and Anita Whalen, who will come up in 1 minute, have done amazing work starting to really be boots on the ground in our classrooms every day with teachers. Together, they've created a scope and sequence in RELA with 16 different texts aligned to questions and analysis commands. They've integrated common graphic organizers, common language with sentence stems, student samples, and scoring guidelines to continue to support consistency across 3 to 8th grade classrooms. The collaboration in professional learning is growing. They do weekly teacher check-ins to share student learning and refine any instructional routines. They've hosted over 12 professional learning sessions focused on standards, academic language, explicit instruction, and even text-dependent analysis. Their daily instructional coaching provides ongoing small group instruction in our classrooms. They host data team meetings and whole class modeling. They support lesson design, differentiation, and scaffolding strategies, and they assure the alignment of Same Mean Matter to the district's short-term goals. We're now going to talk about how we're strengthening literacy and math instruction in grades 9 and 10. Because we know grades 3 to 8 is essential in where kids are vertically aligned to what they're asked to do on the Keystone exam. I'm going to introduce Ms. Anita Whalen to talk to you about some of the work that she has been leading in our 9th and 10th grade classrooms.
Hello, everyone. I am one of the new instructional coaches, and I have been tasked with doing from 6th to 10th grade, looking at all of the curriculum, as well as working with all of the teachers and the students, which is my favorite part. So both in reading and math, we're kind of running the exact same thing in the 9th and 10th grade regions because they are both Keystone grades. We start with the benchmarks, analyze the benchmark data, figure out where the weaknesses are. I go in and I visit with every single student who took a benchmark, sit down with them. We go out in the hallway and we review where their strengths and weaknesses are. And then once a month, I get together with the teachers and we also again analyze where the strengths and weaknesses are with the students, where they need to adjust the curriculum, where their instruction needs to either be amped up or some things need to be changed. And we work really, really hard to make sure that we are focused on meeting the needs of the students and meeting the needs of the eligible content so they can be successful. We found a lot of interesting things through all of it, and some of the stuff is sitting there ready to go, and I've already talked to Ms. Burke about some of the things that they have discovered while doing all this information. The greatest thing that I have discovered through all of this is how vested the students are in doing well. At first, when I started coming in, it was kind of like, oh, wait, the benchmarks are being looked at. Oh, wait, these really matter. Oh, wait, this really happens. And I said, oh, yeah, it really does. And we are adjusting curriculum. And they're like, well, wait, so if I did bad, I'm going to have to do more. I'm going to have to adjust more. I'm going to have to change more. I'm like, oh, yes, you are. So we have been working together. And when I say to you, I feel like we've developed an incredible community of learners, both with teachers, myself, and all the students have come together, and we have a common goal and a common drive, and the outcome is absolutely beautiful. I do come back and I share these comments often with Ms. Burke and with Mr. Garish about all the stuff that's happening at the high school and all the wonderful things I'm seeing. So we do have a plan now in place. Every month we meet. When we have the benchmarks happen, they go ahead and we design time for me to come in, sit with all the students, discuss what needs to happen. They now have a goal and a drive, and then together we come together and we work on that goal and drive. So they will be taking the benchmarks in January. They will take the benchmark again in March. And each time the assessment will happen, each time things are going to be adjusted and to see them be successful. The other thing that ended up coming out of all of this that I found so amazing was as I sat with the students and was working with them, they said to me, hey, Mrs. Whalen, what about Rams time? Will you come and work with us during Rams time? I said 100%. And I have. Students have come and worked with me during Rams time or during their class time. We do small group activities, pull them out and sit in small group activities. One of the biggest things I'm doing in math with the algebra keystone is I'm showing them how they're graded so that we're not writing IDK on any of our open-ended questions. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize. And I said, yeah, it's really important that you just let's put some good stuff down here and not just, skip forward. So the community effort, the community that's being built right now at the high school is absolutely amazing. As we move into the springtime, I hope to bring that community down to the middle school as well. Again, doing the exact same thing. I am meeting with the teachers at the middle school level. I am working with them on Linkit. We pull the Linkit data. We sit there and assess the Linkit data the exact same way. The beautiful thing is that I am working from 6 to 8. And then as I move up through the high school, I can tell the high school students or tell the 8th graders what they need, tell the 6th graders what they need, work with the high school students, and tell the high school teachers what's happening. So it's a great connection between the middle school and high school. Any questions?
So ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to the next slide, I just wanted to be able to give you that brief update. So when you see a news article or when you're flashing back to October when we gave you a very lengthy presentation on data, that you can say, well, what's happening? So how are you working on that? What are you doing right now? This is what we're doing. We have aligned vision. We have short-term goals that we're working on every day. We have our coaches aligned to those short-term goals. We have frameworks now aligned to those coaches and what they're working with. Every day we are making sure that we are making intentional decisions to move the needle at Penridge. And my goal of this evening was to be able to give you that information so you can point to it. If a community member asks, if someone talks to you about what's going on, you can say, this is what we're doing in RELA right now. This is what we're doing in math. We're showing students that the scores matter, that the writing matters, that writing IDK or my brain told me isn't going to get you the 4, right? But that's what we're drawing attention to, and we're making sure that it's paramount for our teachers, students, principals, and ultimately you as a board. So I just wanted to make sure you had that information. Spoiler alert, coming in March, you'll get to see the next data presentation from our team where you will see a little bit about how this looks quantitatively. Our benchmarks will be complete at that point and we'll come back with a mid-year update. Okay? I'm gonna have Ms. Vitale come in for a little bit of an adjustment in conversation just to talk about the proposal for the advanced placement comparative government textbook.
Dr. Bloom?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for, I think we've been talking a lot about this for a long time. It's nice to see the concrete steps.
Thank you.
Going and break it out as opposed to just these general goals. It's nice to get those details.
I really appreciate that. And I said when we opened, you know, the vision comes from Dr. Barrios. I'm an agent of him. So my job is then to put the vision into place with my team. My team then takes the vision to the coaches, the principals, the teachers. But ultimately, you're right. We have those big goals, but we need to have smaller, actionable steps to show success. And that's what we're working toward. Appreciate you.
Good evening. I'm Jenna Vitale, for those of you that I haven't met yet. It's nice to see you here and welcome. I look forward to working with you. So in the last, I think it was the last curriculum committee meeting, I brought to you our work toward bringing AP comparative government to Penridge, and we were really excited to do it. It's been a really fun journey. I actually really enjoyed this process. So what we did next was we picked 3 of the best textbooks out there based on their publishers. I contacted the publishers, they send me copies, and then we get a committee together. We had, as you can see there, 3 teachers and myself analyzing the textbooks. And we have a textbook adoption rubric that we use. So there was one that we had used in the district before, and we didn't quite feel that it worked for what we were looking for, because this is an AP course. So there are outstanding elements that we have to make sure that we're hitting. So Kara Gurish, who is an assistant principal at the high school, and she's also the social studies liaison for the school district, or for the high school. She and I kind of reworked our original rubric, and we made it a little bit more applicable to an AP course. And so it's linked there for you to see. And if you have any questions about it, please let me know, and I'm happy to answer those questions for you. We took about a 3.5-hour session where the teachers and I met with each other, and we sat together and we looked at the textbooks, and we looked at them from many different viewpoints. And the one that really came clear to the top, and I don't want to say right away, but it was pretty much right away, we could see that one was going to work for us better than the others. And that was the BFW publishers, the textbook that I have here. There was clear alignment to the Pennsylvania state standards, which is the first thing that we were looking for. Then alignment to College Board. And the alignment to College Board is not just what is required by College Board, but also the types of questions and the practice questions that a textbook offers. The teachers that were pulled for the committee are AP teachers. So they know, and they're experienced AP teachers. They know what the students are going to encounter on the test. So they were looking for a textbook that was going to prepare the students for that. And this textbook really did that far and above the others. It had robust test question examples and preparation, a pacing guide specifically for block, which was a real kind of like feather in its cap. It had an ebook for assignments and accommodations, and it also provided scaffolding and spirals. It had the FRQs, which are free response questions. It had lots of examples and samples and practice questions for them. So the cost of this textbook is about $114.98 per textbook. That would be a one-time purchase. We would only need to purchase enough textbooks for the students that sign up for the class and the amount of sections that we have for the course. We're estimating, based on the survey that we gave to the students, that we would have under 100 students. So I kind of estimated that if we have 2 sections, that would be wonderful. So 2 sections being about 60 students, totaling about $6,898.80 for the textbooks. And we would not have to repurchase them again. That would be a one-time purchase, unless I got, another section, and then I would have to purchase more books. But for now, that's what we anticipate as 2 sections. Yeah, so it builds, it moves slowly. It anticipates what the students will come in not knowing. So since this is a designed for a 10th grade student, we would anticipate that there are, and Another factor is that we know what our scope and sequence is, and our students don't get European history at all until 11th grade. So they're not going to have all of the skills and all of the prior knowledge that this textbook is going to ask them to do, but this textbook anticipates that, and so gives them that prior knowledge, geography, political systems, anything that maybe they haven't studied before 10th grade. And then the spiraling is just what Mr. Gurish was talking about earlier, is it brings back the skills that it brought forth, like Unit 1 questions, you'll see again in Unit 3. And then Unit 2 questions, you'll see again in Unit 5. Yep, of course. Any other questions? Unfortunately, I only have one copy. They only sent me one copy, but I'm happy to let you fight over it. It actually, I enjoyed this because this was a really interesting textbook. It's very timely. All of the topics and the case studies are happened last year. This was published in 2025, so it's very, very new and applicable to what the students will be experiencing in the real world. Thank you.
Okay, and one last quick brief update on, whoops, wrong way, on our obsolete books from Meg Burke.
Make this fast. I'm back again. One of the things that I looked at when I first got here was the process in which instructional materials are obsoleted. And I noticed that it was on a rolling basis. So it was happening once a month, monthly, library instructional materials. They'd come in a form, we'd sign them, they'd come to the board, you'd approve them, and they'd move on. And what I noticed is it started to create a backlog for our business department and our facilities, that they were driving around from school to school once something was obsolete to pick up maybe 5 boxes or 2 boxes or 1 boxes and rinse and repeat that process. So what I started to think around is how could we develop a structured process and instead of have these things happen monthly, have 3 annual submission windows for obsolete books and instructional materials to ensure consistency, efficiency, fiscal responsibility, and accountability across all schools. Currently, books may be submitted at varying times throughout the year, which creates challenges, like I had mentioned, for the business office and facilities and schools and administrators in managing the inventory, the approvals, and the removal. So with these new 3 submission windows, it gives us time because, as Dr. Bloom has mentioned, our department touches everything. So it gives us time to see what materials are being obsoleted from our classrooms, and it gives us time to organize them as a department and pick up. Schools can prepare and submit 1 electric obsolete book form. Right now we have 3, and supporting spreadsheets, which would reduce delays and follow-up communication. It would also align workflow across all of our departments, and it would give facilities and the business office time to schedule bulk pickups, storage, and auction or donation preparations more efficiently, improving response time and reducing backlog. And so what I put into the slides that you can click on, and I'll try to expand this for you. I wanted to outline that everything stays the same in terms of policy and process. The only thing that would be new are these 3 submission windows. So you can see from February 6th to March 2nd, April 10th to May 4th, and May 8th to June 2nd. And instead of 3 paper forms circulating around, there would be 1 that everyone would use. And I linked that in as well. Again, there'd be no changes to the process or policy as outlined where I have no change. And it would also give us more time with the textbook warehouse and the book boys to pick up more of our books in bulk than just box loads. And so these items could also be listed for a longer amount of time on the public surplus site, which would also offer us more opportunities fiscally for them to purchase them from us.
Is there a code as to why things are obsoleted? Is that been changed at all?
Nope, nothing has changed at all. I used everything and all the writing. I can say for the ones that are here now that have just been posted, that are attached to the slides, I've been looking at all of them by date. A lot of them are just outdated. They've been here for a long time. Some are damaged, so most places aren't going to take damaged textbooks. So what I did is I really aligned the process with the drop-down menu on that electronic form.
Okay.
So it really streamlines why they're obsoleting them
It's
across the board.
important to make sure that, because of past issues, that we just be clear as to why it's out.
Exactly. Yep. Thank you so much.
Okay, everyone. Well, that concludes our presentation for this evening. Are there any further questions for me before we turn it back over to Dr. Merkelgump? Mr. Merkelgump, I might have just given him a promotion.
If I may, I don't have a question. I have more of a compliment. I just wanted to commend you and your team for putting this very comprehensive presentation together.
Thank you.
And developing systems and having greater vertical articulation here in the district. In addition, I'm very excited about this AP Comparative Government course and hearing that we have 100 students interested. That is fantastic. I hope the board will adopt this textbook. I know it's about $6,000, but I think it's going to be worthwhile. And what's very impressive here as well is it's opening up access for 10th graders. We're trying to provide more college opportunities and rigorous coursework for our younger students. So that is just an excellent step. So hats off to you and your department.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it greatly. Anything else, Mr. Merkelgump? No? Committee?
Echo the kudos a little more.
Yeah.
You're doing
Then I'll stay here.
that
Keep
you are
going.
taking that very quickly moving it into action to see us continue to improve.
Absolutely, and that's, as my promise when I, first came on board is that, give me a little time to get it under my belt, and then we'll start making actionable steps and strides forward for Penn Ridge. So I appreciate you. Thanks, everyone. Happy New Year again.
Are there any questions about obsolete books for review?
I didn't have any.
And then I'll take it. I'll make sure I manage Thunderdome over who gets it.
What's the expected life of this textbook that we would be looking to, that would become outdated?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I work really closely with the rep for the publisher, and I'll ask them how they deal with that, because it does have to be updated. Probably not every year. I wouldn't think they would update it every year, but probably very frequently, maybe every couple of years, 2 or 3. I don't know. Do you know how often they do that? A course like this, where it's
Don't have a good answer for you.
yeah, I'll find out for you. That's a really good question.
Do we give the students the opportunity to buy, I know when I took AP classes, we had the opportunity to buy our own textbook for us to, Allison, this was before, technology, right? And I wanted to highlight and write.
Some of them do. So we have some teachers who prefer to buy AP textbooks that they can write in. That does cost a little bit more. The bulk of my budget goes towards AP texts because of that. But this one in particular was just to have, there's a digital component. So they can take it home and use their computer, and it integrates with our school. So, that way. And Canvas as well, so they can put their courses in.
Yes, are these books issued to students that they take home, or are they kept in the classroom?
They can take them home, yeah. We would get one per student per year.
Thank you, Ms. Vitale.
So if there are no questions on obsolete books, we are ready to begin the next committee meeting.
All right. Do you want to say when you're next?
Oh, yes, that would be a smart thing for me to say. Our next committee meeting is scheduled for February 2nd, 2026.
Great, thank you. Do we know if we have any public comment for student services? I'm going to guess.
Yeah, that was the only one
All
out
right,
there.
then perfect. We will start Student Services Committee meeting. Thank you so much for attending, everybody. We will start, we have no public comment, so we will begin with the high school cheerleaders overnight trip request.
We have Mr. Caddy.
Happy New Year, everybody, and thank you for bringing us up. Last cheerleading trip that we needed to get approved, I had to give the presentation. So this time, I actually wanted to bring the cheerleader coach, so we actually had an expert on the subject matter to go over it. But this is for their national trip to Florida, which is something that we've supported for many, many years. And to that end, I also know that there's been tremendous movement within this program, and we're super, super proud of the fundraising opportunities, because just from my standpoint, it is a very expensive trip. And the fundraising efforts that the boosters in the program has put together has offset major costs throughout this program. So I just want to give that kudos to Ms. Harrington, and I'll pass the baton to you.
These signs too and flags. So we're requesting to be able to go to nationals this year. We have participated in our regional competitions already and received our bids for both of our game day routine and our traditional routine, which this year we're going to be in an intermediate non-tumbling level, which is where we're supposed to be. Last year we were in a level that was a little bit higher for us, and they added this component or this level for us to be able to do, and it was perfect. So now we're really able to showcase our skills. We got our bid at our first regional competition, which was great. We ended up getting our bid for our game day, the second one. So all the money that we had put aside for those other two regionals is now being transferred into the Nationals Fund. We're waiting for them to take it off that final price quote for us, so that way that'll knock it down. As Mr. Ketty said, we did fundraising this year. We had our competition that we held here, and we doubled the amount of participants and schools that came to participate at that competition. So we ended up raising almost $20,000 in profit towards our program, which allowed us then to go back to everyone that participated in camp and give them all the money back that they put towards camp. So that meant camp for every single girl that participated in our program was free. We're going back and giving them money back for all the camp gear, like the t-shirts that I'm wearing right now, that they purchased. We're able to give them the money back for them as well. And we're able to pay for the transportation from the airport to our hotel and back, which is a huge fee that comes from Mears that we're able to give them. And we're now going to go back and give all the families money towards the trip. So originally it was going to be about $1,500, which was less than last year, but we're able to now go back and give them money. Plus what the booster's doing with some of that extra money that we raised is giving every student that's going on the trip a food voucher. So that way they will have, we have already always provided breakfast for them, but now we're able to give them food vouchers that will go towards lunch and dinner, so they won't have to pay for any meals on this trip. It's a great opportunity for us. And the way that they have it structured this year as well is last year, unfortunately, we were out the first day on Friday, which stinks, and you do have to put the trip to a lot for if you make it to Sunday, which is the finals, which will be awesome. This year, we are guaranteed that we will compete on Friday and on Saturday because of our different routines. So that at least gets us a little bit longer in the competition. And where we placed in our regionals, I've done my research and listed everybody out. There is a really good shot that we should be able to make it with our traditional intermediate routine into the finals, because we have excelled in our skills this year. We just went to a competition this past weekend. The girls are very adaptable. We changed the routine on the bus, on the way to the competition, all their counts, and we ended up getting second place in both of the divisions that we were in. So the girls have really been picking it up this year and making the changes, making the corrections, and making the edits to allow us to hopefully go further.
I did want to add that I wanted to thank you for having our cheerleading program where it is now. I've heard from parents that there's just been an improvement, just not in the environment that the girls are in, the relationship the girls have with each other, with the coaches, and also the relationship the parents have with you guys. So I wanted to thank you for that, because I have heard from parents. So thank you so much.
Oh, good. Thank you. I mean, I do feel like we were in a better space than we were last year. Even, I don't know if you know, I came in, was asked to come in and halfway through the program last year because there were some changes that have happened. And I do feel like it is a very positive atmosphere that we're trying to keep going, including everybody that wants to try out, really trying to increase their skills and give them a happy outlet. My whole thing is, it should be for real fun. you know, whether that's a word or not, but I always say you have to stop doing for fake fun. It has to be for real fun, girls. Come on. And just really trying to make it fun for them. It shouldn't be stress. It shouldn't be work. It should be fun, and you should want to be here and want to do it. I mean, I loved my cheer experiences all through high school and college, and even as an adult, I did some cheering and coached another school, and I enjoyed it, and I really want to instill that in them, that it's supposed to be fun.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I would like to echo Ms. Sharino's sentiments. I mean, I think the extended season this year with the football team doing so well and the extra games, the playoff games, and being here on Thanksgiving morning. And I've had an opportunity to meet with one of the chaperones who's heavily involved with boosters, Ms. Bogle, and I know the fundraising that's taken place, like that fundraising generated $20,000, which is extraordinary.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But hats off to you and the squad in New Beginnings, and you know, hopefully a great trip to Florida. And we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any questions?
Other?
Are there any questions?
You can get it through My Varsity TV. I think is the only way that you can see it. I know Suburban 1 will be. They have the huddle camera at Suburban 1 at CB South. I know you can watch like Suburban 1 competition.
Some of that stuff pushed out on our own social media. Right, I think there's, right, you go to any of the football games and you see that you're incorporating the younger elementary girls in cheer programs and having them out in the field and just to sort of build this.
We do, and we do a lot through our social media, through our Instagram account and through Facebook, whether it's the cheer Facebook with Booster. Like anytime we do events, we really are pushing out there, you know, everything that we're doing, and like you said, what we're doing with the community. The girls have been going to some of the elementary schools now and reading, which is great that we've been able to be a part of that, and we're going to be a part of that. The cow book that's coming out that they just presented about, the girls are going to go and read at the farmers thing too, which is great. We just did the talent show. We were in it. I was even with them in the talent show. So, yeah, we do really try to promote everything that we're doing out in the community.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that is it for students. The
Well-
services. Oh, yes, one more thing. It's not on here, but yes, this is a really important. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, we have to do a pyramid.
Ernest's
I'm on
you
the
gonna
bottom.
do a cheer for us?
I don't want to get everybody excited, so I will not do a cheer. But I do want to make an announcement. And so everyone think about, and this has nothing to do with what's on the screen. Chester's trying to get something else up for me. So the announcement I have, there's an event on March 4th at, I believe, we're going to start at 6 or 6:30, but mark your calendars for March 4th. There's an event for cell phones, not just in schools, but with parent consideration as well. We don't have a title for the event, but again, it's March 4th at the high school in the white gym. So pretend like there's a movie that's coming out, and you're anticipating this movie 6 months, a year. Brad Pitt's going to be in it. Pick your favorite actor or actress. This event is similar to that in that we're going to be discussing cell phone use not only in schools, but parents as decision makers. Lee Rush, who was here earlier, the only public commenter, talked about Wait Until 8th, which is a movement. I believe we're going to have someone connected to that movement speak on the topic of cell phone use in schools. We may have one or two additional speakers speak on the topic. The purpose isn't to necessarily tell parents what they need to do. There's going to be a forum for open dialogue where there's small groups of parents. We're going to have it set up where there's chairs and there's opportunities for parents to talk to each other after listening to what I'll call experts speak on the topic of not only cell phone use in schools, but when is it appropriate to have cell phones, to get your children cell phones? Is it appropriate to have a fourth grader with cell phones? I've seen third graders with cell phones. What does it do in terms of anxiety, depression, and what does the research say? So it's not necessarily we're going to talk about causation, but what does cell phone use earlier in life correlate to? So a really exciting event, March 4th, start time again, either 6 or 6:30. And it'll be about a 2-hour event where, again, there will be what I'll call a keynote speaker or speakers, but it's really intended to be interactive in a presentation that's more dynamic and gives people opportunities to speak about either their own experiences, or if they have kids that are in 2nd or 3rd grade, here's what they're considering for the future for their kids. So again, exciting event at Penridge High School. I think the first of our kind, and Dr. Barrios, Dr. Palmer, Ms. Sherino, Lee Rush have been instrumental in kind of talking about this, and the discussion has gone on for at least, I'd say, 12 to 15 months. So a lot of time in the making, and I'm excited. I think we're excited as a district to see this come to fruition. I'm good now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. No, I'm excited about this, and I'm excited to see this being pushed out more, just not to high schoolers, middle schoolers, but to all of our families and to community members. I'm really excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so our next Student Services Committee meeting is scheduled for Monday, February 2nd, and we will move along to the Policy Committee.
All right, I'm up again. I didn't say anything.
Perfect.
So the first piece of this is the policy update plan. We generally start with the policy update plan. You'll see what we're considering. Obviously, you as board members, if you have an interest in a particular policy that you would like to be reviewed by the board, we can look at those as well. I edited the policy update plan recently with Ms. Taylor and Ms. Rash, and what we removed from the policy update plan were just policies that had been approved by the board in the past. Last year, some of those policies had been approved during the spring part of the school year. So I'm going to draw your attention to what we are going to be doing tonight for 2nd reading. We have 2 policies up for 2nd reading, 102 academic standards and 122 extracurricular activities. After the 1st reading, no changes were recommended beyond that. But again, we will review those briefly and then give the board an opportunity to comment or add suggestions. The policy this evening up for 1st reading is bullying, cyberbullying. This policy should be reviewed every 3 years, even if there are no changes or limited changes. So regardless of the changes recommended by PSBA, we still have to engage in a review every 3 years. I can tell you that there were not many changes suggested. There are 2 items which I shared with the board that we will have to review that you all can discuss in terms of what you would like to see for this 1st reading. And then there's a form that needs to be completed. There were no changes to the form outside of, and by form I mean, there's a form that's posted on our website when there's an incident or an alleged incident related to bullying or cyberbullying that parents, community members can complete, students can complete, and those forms go to both the building principal and myself as the Title IX coordinator. A future attraction is we are going to be delving into policy 815.1, which will be new for us as a district and new to many districts over the last year or 2, and that's looking at AI. Any questions, thoughts, or concerns? So again, up for 2nd reading, I'm going to scroll through this policy. It was shared with the board, I believe several weeks ago. And the strike-throughs, just for our new board members, means that this is a change recommended by PSBA, and what you see highlighted in green reflects the changes that they recommend for school districts. Typically, and as an example for purpose, there are more semantic changes language moved around, but the purpose and the spirit of different board policies remain the same. Are there any thoughts, questions, or concerns about what you've read previously pertaining to this particular policy?
Were there any changes made from first to second reading?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to move on to policy 122. Which is extracurricular activities. And to your point, Mr. Wers, there were no changes made from the first reading or no recommended changes by the board. I do think it's important to point out under guidelines for extracurricular activities. In our prior meeting, the board thought it was important to accept all 8 of those recommendations. So I'm going to let you just read through those. I'm going to move on to policy 249, which this is the first reading. 249, again, bullying, cyberbullying. Now, I'm not going to scroll through this one, but what I'm going to ask is that the board discuss 2 of the significant changes for this particular policy. The first is under guidelines. I'm going to stop here. So this essentially asks the board to make a decision on the district may or shall. And then following that, develop, implement, and evaluate bullying prevention and intervention programs and activities. So again, the decision here is may or shall, and we need to opt into one of those 2 responses.
Why would you use may? Let's just make it optional, is that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't think that's really.
But you have it
I
more
like shall.
case by case basis.
Yeah. I think
Will.
shall is good, especially since shall is used later on in that section as well, so it makes it a little more consistent, and that is something we should be doing.
Right, if we care about these children, it needs to be shall.
And the other change from 3 years ago in reference to consequences for violations. So I would ask us to look at each of those 7 recommended and it doesn't mean you need to do each one. These are just the options available to school administrators in the district in the event that a person violates this bullying, cyberbullying policy.
Are these things that are currently options?
Yes.
Do you have any other ones, or this came from PSBA?
This came from PSBA.
So is there other things that we do, or do we have a protocol that we follow?
Yes, generally speaking, there could be a restorative conference, but there has to be some sort of agreement between both parties. The worst thing I think schools can do is force a restorative session between someone that is a perpetrator and someone that's a victim. You really need to work closely with the families in terms of what they want and what's at the comfort level of a child. But ultimately what you want is an environment in a school where kids feel safe learning and kids feel like they have a level of advocacy for themselves. So I think the things that are, these 7 different options are appropriate based off what our experiences are as school administrators for parents and students.
So the counseling within the school, kind of the broad net to handle all those things, just leave it vague there.
So something restorative would fit in one of these categories then?
Yes.
Counseling within the
Counseling,
school.
okay.
Or parental conference.
And that counseling could also be extended to, let's say, a parent is concerned about their child's mental health as a result of, let's say, long-term and sustained bullying, which fits the definition. We may institute something where that particular student, they may not want to participate in a restorative session, but they may want their kid to do a check-in with the counselor or the social worker or the school psychologist on a weekly basis for a finite period of time. So that allows us to do that and has that as a consequence for both the, what I'll call the victim and the person who's initiated this. There are times when parents aren't necessarily interested in consequences. They're more interested in helping to educate that other student so that it doesn't happen to anyone else. So those are discussions that go along with administrators, counselors, and really involves the school team. And again, it may not be a purely restorative session between those 2 students or those groups of students. It could be support for both sets of kids within their school counselor at any level. So I would recommend all 7 of these options are certainly helpful. I don't know if, obviously, depending on the gravity of the situation, I'm not sure detention is really appropriate if you've got someone that's doing something that's pervasive and persistent. But again, that just gives us an option. It doesn't mean that that's what we have to do. Those are just the 7 options that we can use at our disposal.
And I would assume within
8.
10.
There's 10.
10?
Scrolling. 10.
Oh, there it is.
I would assume within whatever ARs do you develop around this, you will have recommendations to administrators. Hey, here based on severity is what we would expect, as well as some elements of progressive discipline within that in terms of repeated infractions and stuff like that.
Yeah, my favorite 2-word phrase, it depends.
Do you have an AR right now for it?
No.
You don't?
It does fit within our discipline
So it's
model,
kind of a subset.
so it is covered within
You
discipline.
have an AR for that.
And when we, at some point, we are going to have to review, and if you remember the policy update plan, it does list policy 218, which is student discipline, which is something that we should examine for the spring, this spring.
Say that again?
So 218 is on our policy update plan, and I think it fits nicely with the review of this particular policy because we will at some point this spring have to look at policy 218, and you guys will have to go through a first read, second read, and eventually an adoption. So this coalesces nicely with that.
I do have a couple more questions.
Yes.
Overall in the policy, as I was going through it earlier today, I know in there,
Section?
where it talks about reporting online, and I know that we have it on the district homepage.
sure.
You go, right? It's like,
The form.
Yeah, so it looks a little overwhelming. It's like an 11-page document. The first 4 is what really gets filled out.
Mhm.
My question is, I'm sure there's, students that don't have the support, for the help to fill that out themselves online. It can be, can it be fillable, a PDF, that they can just go online and type into it instead of having it printed out? Maybe they don't have a printer at home, maybe they don't have ink, maybe they don't have paper. And is there a way that it can be just directly submitted? They hit submit and it goes right to you?
Yeah, I think that is something I can work with Mr. Thomas on, where it's most people when they complete it, they actually scan the document to me electronically and they send it to me in the
But if there's
principal.
somebody that wants to make a report, right, that doesn't
Mhm.
have parental support at home,
Mhm.
or they want to just make this themselves and not go to somebody else.
And I will say, you don't actually have to fill out the report. And I think if some of the board members that have been here, when I've written the parents that have a concern, you can report it verbally to us, and then we will complete it, either the principal or I.
And it does say that. I mean, if you read it, you go to page 1, it says on page 1, but I'm just thinking for a student or somebody else that just wants to be able to, go online, make a report, just try to make it simple. So things are reported. Because I think that will discourage people from reporting things. If it looks so overwhelming, it looks like an 11-page document that they have to fill out. I would ask that we just sort of make this simpler to see.
Absolutely.
It's a good idea. Start it simple and they can provide
Yeah,
more.
right, if
information
it's
later.
not being reported to us,
Dive deeper later.
how do we know, we don't know what we're up
I
against.
think
I think
so.
we have to make it simple and easy for somebody to report this. And I know in here it also says that, I guess the policy is reviewed annually with the students. Is that done K through 12? Is that just done, and like, what's the process that we, I mean, this is severe, I think, right? This is a heavy thing that we're talking about, and I don't want to just skim over this lightly and say, oh, here's our once a year, we're done. What kind of resources are we giving the students? What kind of resources are we giving to the staff to, when they overhear something, so they feel comfortable addressing the student right then and there? I guess maybe that goes outside of this policy, but just.
Sure, we definitely review this, and we also have upstanders program that I think it's a very robust and solid program. I think you raise a very good point of having a fillable form that's a little more intuitive and user-friendly, and that's certainly something we can fix. It's a great idea. Certainly not opposed to that. It could be daunting looking at 11 pages. Another option for students, not always the best option, is there's an anonymous portal as well, through Safe to Say. Sometimes students want, or families want their child to remain anonymous because they fear of reprisal, and there's an anonymous mechanism, and that will drive an investigation. But we'll certainly take the fillable option under advisement.
And I'd like to add also, I think to your point, how do students know to report, I think is the biggest issue, or one of the bigger issues. And there are assembly programs at K to 12 for the students, so they hear directly from school administration. And again, I think to Dr. Barrios' point, that anonymous mechanism is also something that can trigger an investigation. It doesn't have to be a direct report from a particular student, from a particular parent, because there is concern sometimes about retaliation, and whether that's true or not true, it doesn't really matter what I think or what we think. It's how a person feels. So I think we are sensitive to that as a district to help people to be able to report without feeling like it's going to be either cumbersome for them or there's going to be some sort of, as Dr. Barrios stated, reprisal. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'm glad Tom brought this up, because I think it's a question worthwhile asking. Whenever we do these sort of things, I always kind of look at what other districts have too. And I like that we have like discrimination and harassment, and it's kind of like own section, but I feel like it still applies pretty heavily to Title IX, where it's like someone's not given the same opportunities, like really taken away someone's accessibility to things. But there is a level of discrimination that's bullying. You're not giving students opportunity in classrooms, things like that. But I feel like there is something outside of bullying that is discriminatory comments, discriminatory, words that get shouted out. And to Tom's point, I feel like if we had some like very specific training to staff, it'd be like, what do you do if you hear this? Because usually no one's saying who said it, but it was said and everyone heard it. And it doesn't always have to fit in the definition of bullying in the sense
Sure.
it's like pervasive and consistent. And Like, I feel like those sort of things, one time being said, is something that we should be addressing, and just helping our students understand the difference between that, like, bullying isn't the same as saying something very discriminatory, like
Sure.
yelling out the N-word or things like that's, even if you're not saying it to any person in particular, you don't say that. And just those, understanding those distinctions and helping students feel comfortable coming forward when they hear it, because it doesn't really fit in here. Like, if they're not saying it to the same kid over and over again, it's not bullying. But
So-
I don't feel like it has to be said over and over again. I feel like once is enough.
Yeah, and I think we are very clear and resolute in if there isn't, it doesn't have to fit this definition of either bullying or cyberbullying, but if there's an insensitive remark, an inappropriate remark, a racially charged remark, we will respond regardless of whether it's bullying or cyberbullying or harassment. It doesn't have to fit that particular definition, but we do have a code of conduct that we follow. And again, to that point about policy 218.1, we can really look at how 218, not 218.1. Look at policy 218, which is about student discipline. How do we shape that particular policy and/or administrative regulation to fit those different categories? And we do have different levels of conduct that is inappropriate that can lead to different consequences in school. And again, we can codify that even further as we look at policy 218.
Yeah, and that's clearly in their use of racial and ethnic slurs. It's something that is, obviously wrong, but is clear violation of our discipline policy. So the bullying, cyberbullying doesn't obviously cover everything.
Yeah.
It's just that one piece.
Do we teach about cyberbullying? Do we incorporate any of that into our technology classes?
It's covered. I don't know where it's covered, but we do include cyberbullying. It's a requirement that we have. It's covered in different places at different levels.
I know in elementary it is.
Mhm.
There are different grades are specifically talking about bullying, cyberbullying extensively. So.
We hope, through this cell phone forum that we're going to have and raising greater awareness, having more responsible use with young people with cell phones. And sometimes there are issues that stem from the weekend, and then it spills over into the school on Monday morning, and then we're dealing with it, and what's the nexus to school at that point?
I will add, that was part of the conversation that Mr. Johnson and I had about the cell phone use. I mean, the problem really isn't what's happening while the kids are in school. The problem is what's happening when the kids are at home, kids are unsupervised, they're somewhere else where these things are taking place that really does spill into the school and cause these kinds of problems. So that's something that we wanted to take a broader approach than just, hey, ban cell phones from school. More of a conversation about what is appropriate use of cell phones and giving parents that guidance.
You're seeing an uptick in the number of, artificial intelligence generated deep fakes, using a photo of somebody and it's having very, very, adverse impacts on young people. And so we hope through greater awareness and education, we can mitigate some of these things. Things that, with dating and sexting and just can get very, very disturbing and worries us.
Yeah. I just want to clarify that. So the, explicit description of, racial, discriminatory comments is in the code of conduct? That's where the kids, where it's pulling out, because most of our policies focus on that we're going to apply discipline fairly. We're not going to discriminate discipline based on race and gender and all those things. But I haven't seen anything in our policies, but I haven't read through all of them, that spells out what we consider discriminatory speech or discriminatory statements. So is that in the code of conduct for the students?
Yeah, if we look at each of the student handbooks
Okay.
for each one, we also spell this out in our AR for discipline that references back to each one of the policies on discipline. So if you look at the policies on discipline, there's one on discipline for general education students, there's another for special education students, and we also have the bullying and cyberbullying policy. So all of those kind of like merge together and link, and those are referenced in our AR on discipline.
On discipline, okay.
And the handbooks will also kind of lay out the metrics, the grid we have in terms of level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 incidents or infractions that are going to take place.
So, since you brought up the discipline, we were looking for, kind of show the public how our discipline has historically been. I know we ran into problems with the data last year. Can we get an update on that maybe soon? Because we want to say, hey, is bullying getting worse? Is it getting better? But right now, we have no historical data to show what kind of discipline we have. The last time I saw it, was not useful data. And I'd just like to get an update.
Yes, we certainly can.
Maybe a rookie question here, but is there a place we can go and review the ARs if we're going to reference back to things being handled in an AR? Can we go back and, where can we look up ARs?
The ARs will be linked in the policy. They should be in there.
Yeah, I don't think that's always the case, though, so if there's something that we should ask and get it. Because
Yeah.
that's something that Mr. Johnson's been clear.
If we're going to reference
Yeah.
back to it and say
Yep.
it's being called out specifically in the AR versus in the policy, which it should be, there should be
Yeah.
a delineation between
So I'd definitely
what we do
ask
and how
if
we
you
do
don't see it.
And it needs to be there
Right.
to be referenced, yeah.
Yeah, that's something Mr. Johnson's been clear.
Great, thank you.
Any other thoughts, comments?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think
All right. Our next policy committee meeting is scheduled for Monday, February 2nd